Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Lately, a lot of talk about RMC Wildcat has been happening. At Hersheypark, the GCI roller coaster Wildcat, first of its manufacturer, was closed, and it is presumably going to become an RMC. As far as I know, the Rocky Mountain construction hybrid has not been confirmed, but every hint has become very blatant at this point, and it would be a huge shock if this were not an RMC. So we'll go off this video assuming it is an RMC, and we're wondering, will it be the best at Hersheypark? This could vary from person to person, but I'm going to analyze if the majority of people will call this number one. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when new theme park content comes out, and be sure to check out some of the hundreds of other theme park videos that are already on the channel. Now let me start with my own perspective. For me personally, Hersheypark's number one coaster is not quite as extreme or legendary as some say, because for me it's not Skyrush. I do not love Skyrush, some do, I do not. My number one at the park is Candymonium, and given that it is a good B&M hyper, but not necessarily a top 25 type ride, whereas a lot of RMCs are, I think it's very likely that for me, RMC Wildcat will be the number one at the park. That said, there's no guarantee. It really depends on what RMC Wildcat will look like, so I will throw my 2 cents in on the layout. The big thing is that people talk about this potentially being a hyper RMC, grand height and speed and all that, and I get it. Hersheypark is really known for uploading excellent roller coasters to their sort of video coaster catalog. That was a bad analogy, admittedly, but look at all those record-breaking rides they have, such as... Oh wait, they don't do that. Yeah. I don't really think this whole 200-foot thing is gonna happen. I think RMC Wildcat will be taller by a little bit than the original, but I think the top speed's probably gonna be in the 60, maybe 65 mile per hour range. So not the slowest RMC, but certainly not 76 miles per hour like Iron Gwazi. That said, RMC Wildcat, I'm sure, will be excellent in terms of airtime, because that is something that RMC specializes in. I don't think it's going to be the most unique, crazy type layout, even though Hersheypark does sometimes incorporate a few pretty new things into their rides. But it seems to me it will have similarities to the original Wildcat, where the focus is the speed and pacing, which is something I personally really enjoyed about it actually. And it'll have its good inversions and airtime moments in there, but I don't see it being a top tier RMC. But even so, I think it's likely that this will probably rank above things such as Twisted Cyclone and maybe some of the lesser RMCs, such as, in my opinion, Goliath the Great America. Obviously, everyone's opinions on RMCs are different, and it can vary drastically, but for the majority of people, I think this will be a mid-tier RMC. Maybe once it comes out, people will be kind of tired of the smaller RMC layout, as many are apparently getting. So it's possible that RMC Wildcat's just not going to be a huge success for coaster enthusiasts the way the same kind of ride would have been if it opened in, say, 2014 or 2015. I do think, though, it will be my number one at the park, but will it be better than Skyrush for the majority of people? Well, I've contacted some people who are huge fans of Skyrush, and their overall thoughts seem to be that Skyrush, the restraints first of all, are not a huge issue for them, and they love the intensity and airtime of that ride. Given that they consider it the best roller coaster in the world, the people that I talk to, I think for a pretty good amount of people, RMC Wildcat will not be number one. It's going to be a top 3 ride for the vast majority of people, I'm sure. I see it being number one for myself. But the big thing that stands out to me is that we don't quite know what to expect from the layout yet. So throwing in all these predictions might be a bit too preemptive. That said, it just seems to me that all the things I've heard about RMC Wildcat potentially being the greatest in the world might be just people who are from that area being really hyped for it, similar to how when Iron Gwazi, or I guess I should say in this case RMC Gwazi, was first rumored and announced, people kind of expected it to be best of the best. However, that ended up being true. So we can't rule it out for RMC Wildcat, but I still think it's going to be about the same level of quality as, for example, the Joker Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, which by the way is super underrated. So maybe that's what's going to happen. Now, one thing I kind of wanted to talk about, where our conclusion for this part, by the way, is that RMC Wildcat will most likely be the best roller coaster at Hersheypark for everyone who does not have Sky Rush in their top 10 overall roller coasters, but for those who do, it might be a toss-up. Now, I want to talk about the name of this ride. Everyone's now talking about Twisted Twizzlers. I think that's the best name. I like it. It's something that I had thought of, and obviously because the world has a lot of people, a lot of other people also thought of it. So it's a very fun name that many people seem to agree is a good one. That said, I can see where they might go for something a little more serious and less candy themed for this particular ride. Even though they went for Candymonium for the 230-foot tall roller coaster. But if I were to give it a name that fit more with the Wildcat theme, really keeping it somewhat serious, perhaps the expired trademark from SeaWorld parks, Uproar. Uproar was a rumored name for Iron Gwazi before that was announced, so I think it's totally possible that this could be the name they choose. Now that I've rambled on about RMC Wildcat for quite a while, even though I don't really have that much knowledge to back it up, let's conclude this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some of these thoughts were interesting to some. I did want to kind of talk about this one because I've heard so many interesting things hyping it up, and I'm just not sure which ones are true. But subscribe for more theme park content, be on the lookout for Uproar, and if it is called Uproar, make sure to tell Hersheypark that I called it when it comes out. I'll see you next time.